Hi there and welcome everybody. Waiting for Ben to join here. Hi Ben, good morning.
Good morning.
So today we have myself, Ben Miller. I'm a senior account executive here at Titan, and we're joined by Ben Clumeck, who is our special guest for this webinar. And as you all know, we're going to be speaking about the ways in which Salesforce and Titan can interact with your financial services business. And we're talking all across the industry, whether you are dealing with banks, insurance, we'll get into a lot of the different use cases later, but it's really nice to speak with everyone today. And yep, here we go. Okay, so let's just make sure we have everything set up here. Okay, Ben, so it looks like I'll have to switch you to host when you need to share your screen. Oh, it's because I'm sharing the screen. I think that's the issue. So great, so we're gonna get started. As I said, my name is Ben. We have a special guest here, Ben Clumeck from Uber Business Capital. Oh, you want to get your camera started? All right, let's see if we can do this. Okay, Ben, see if you can start your camera now. There we go.
Great.
All right, perfect. Welcome. Good morning.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so just to get started, Ben, maybe you can give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and to what you do at Uber Business Capital.
Sure, Ben. So again, I'm Ben Clumeck. I run Uber Business Capital. We are a specialty fintech company that provides receivable financing programs for small to medium-sized businesses. So we typically partner with banks who come to us for a quick solution for their customers in order to get their customers to have adequate cash flow.
Wonderful. And how long has the business been around for?
So Uber Business Capital has been around for a little over 5 years and have been using Titan for probably 4 of those 5 years.
Yeah, well, we're really looking forward to hearing a little bit about that story. I guess just in a couple of moments. So tell us a little bit more. Where are you based? What jurisdictions do you typically serve?
Sure. So based out of Houston, Texas, and we serve pretty much the South region of the country. However, we'll go all throughout the United States servicing customers.
Sounds great. All right, so just a little bit of introduction to anyone who's not familiar with Titan. Titan is a digital experience platform for Salesforce. What this means is that we operate a platform that sits on top of Salesforce, and that platform has a number of different products on top of it. Each one of these products is integrated with Salesforce bidirectionally, meaning that you can have the ability to send data to Salesforce, receive data from Salesforce, and have full integration with Salesforce, with whatever objects you're working with, whatever data structure you're using. And our goal is to really help you extend the Salesforce experience. So for many organizations, you're using Salesforce, it's working very well in terms of the back end customer relations, maybe even some of the operations that you're doing. You've got some automation there, but the question always is, how are we going to get Salesforce into the hands of the people who are most important, which in many circumstances is our customers, our partners, our vendors, our volunteers even. And we do this through a number of different ways. So the first is through Titan Forms. This is a dynamic form builder. It allows you to read and write to Salesforce in real time. You can build anything there from a contact us simple landing page to a full-on portal like we'll be seeing today. And then Titan Web, which is a more advanced builder in terms of the UX UI. And what you can do there is even build out a full website or a portal and do a lot of different dynamic things with this interface. You also have Titan Docs, which is document generation from Salesforce, which we'll be actually seeing today a little bit of. Titan Sign, which is then adding on that signature component to the document journey. And Titan Survey, which is a really simple to use survey builder that you can send out to customers, send out to really anyone who you'd like to collect data from. And it'll all be reportable in Salesforce via managed package that we provide, which means that you don't have to do any configuration. In terms of the agenda today, what we're going to be talking about, first off, Ben's going to tell us a little bit about Salesforce and why it's a great program for the financial services industry. And then we'll be looking at a little bit of the Uber Business Capital portal that Ben has set up in the last couple of years and has really improved what he was doing and streamlined a lot of the efficiency in the business. And then we'll be seeing some examples of document generation from Salesforce and also from forms, which I'll be showing a little bit later. Ben's going to also show us a big flow that they've created in their Salesforce instance, which also ties into Titan component. And then I'll also be showing a little bit of a Titan financial services portal that we built out. And then of course, we'll have some time for question and answers. So yeah, I guess with that, Ben, let's take it away. I'd love to see what you want to show us today.
Sure. So we got started using Salesforce primarily out of need, right? So there were a number of different software vendors out there, but none of them that were tailored to what we needed to do. So in our business, we have a cycle that goes through the sales cycle to the customer acquisition. And then once after the customer acquisition, then it goes to the servicing side of our customer. And what we found is that the industry that we're in is very, it can be very labor intensive without technology, and existing technologies are old. So probably 10 years ago was probably my first entree into Salesforce, and which seems like a long, long time ago, but my first entree into it, and that was really more on the sales side. So I was able to see how Salesforce worked to help salespeople, and in talking to some of the Salesforce developers and the admins, they were showing me some of the different things it could do. So fast forward 5 years later, and Uber Business Capital is born, and looking around for software and thought, no, you know what, we need to, let's see how we can extend Salesforce. So we go down that path, but what we find is that we don't have an easy method to get data in and out of Salesforce. So we stumble across some form integration products, which are fine. They worked. They weren't great, but they were fine. But our biggest hurdle was, how do we take the data that's in Salesforce and display it to our customers? So with that was born the relationship that we've had with Titan for probably 4+ years. And
did you try to use any sort of intermediaries? Did you try to figure out a way to work with the data outside of Salesforce and then get it back in some way?
We did. So we tested various integration products. We tested various form products along in conjunction with the integration products. But the problem is that one or the other would typically break. So you didn't have that seamless transition of data flowing into the form and then into Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
And our system
No, I was just going to ask, at what point did you also start using Salesforce for more? When did you start to see it as more than just the, customer relations in terms of for a salesperson? When did it become a tool that you saw also being able to power some of the business processes? Was that even before you started Uber, or was that during this process?
Yeah, even before starting Uber, I could tell that I had a couple people show me how they could extend the process beyond sales. So a lot of people think Salesforce is purely just a customer relationship management tool, which it is a great one, but it's much, much more than that. So we use it as a full operating system and a full background. So we've completely customized our Salesforce platform to do all kinds of calculations, run all types of different APIs to gather data from other places. And believe it or not, that's easier in some respects than gathering data from outside, putting it into Salesforce and then displaying it to the outside. Right. So, so that's how we came across Titan. And at first the reaction was, this thing's not going to work. And so my first interaction was with the founder of Titan on when I put in a support request. And needless to say, that the founder responds to a support request. It's crazy. It doesn't happen these days, right? So he says to me, we can do it. And I said, but you don't even know what we want to do. And he says, we can do it. So that's how the relationship started. And it's been kind of fun. So we've had a number of people internally work on and develop the portal and I'll go ahead and, probably teasing enough, go ahead and give you a little preview of the portal. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So when a customer logs in, they're able to see, and this is kind of an older version of the portal. We have a new version release coming up, but they're able to see on the homepage who the bank is. In some cases it's Uber, but in other cases it's one of our partner banks. So they can go down, they can select from a drop down of credit facilities, and depending on which credit facility it is, it will pop up a different bank partner. So if we pop up their second facility, in the background, you just saw the loading, it's pulling up the other bank's information. So that was also a key feature for us, because in some cases we would fund some deals on our own as Uber Business Capital. And in other cases, our partner banks would. So they would be able to pretty easily and quickly come in, see, okay, this is the right facility, this is my limit, and this is the total outstanding invoices. And this dollar amount is crucial, because that's what they look at to see, okay, how much availability do I have going forward?
So what are we working with in Salesforce here? What are we seeing? Like, where is this data coming from in Salesforce?
Yeah, good question. So, so this data is completely customized. So this is not coming from your traditional accounts and accounts, contacts, opportunities. This is coming from custom objects that have been specifically designed and part of our system. So there's probably, this entire portal probably links to 30 to 40 different custom objects.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the other hurdle when looking for a solution, because some solutions will connect to the standard objects, but not custom objects. So we're able to see the invoice outstanding. If there's past dues, it displays it right there on the homepage for the client. So it makes it easy for the client. Then we go to the what we call the debtor list, and they can see, okay, obviously for privacy purposes, we have demo data in here, but they can see their account, the limit requested, limit approved, and their status. And this was a really nice way and real quick way for the customer to see it. Then if they want to look into the invoices that they have sent us to be purchased and or funded, then they can click on the invoices tab and they can see all the invoices over time. However, in many cases, it's difficult for there may be a lot of invoices. So you can go here and you can just kind of type in an invoice number, and very quickly you can narrow it down by this filtering.
So how did you set it up to know which invoices to bring, and what kind of relationships you're working with? I know that before you mentioned there's dozens of objects involved, but are you using certain conditions? How does this filtering working in real time coming from Salesforce?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, we only show, there's a couple different filters. The first filter brings back invoices that have either are being reviewed internally for funding, they've been paid closed, or here they're funded. Now, that's only 3 of the statuses of, I think there's 12 to 15 statuses on a given invoice. But we're able to, in Titan, just say, we only want to bring back where the status equals funded, paid closed, or internal review, which is super important to us, because we don't want to display to the customer the other statuses of the invoices. So it's very simple to put the conditions on there. Literally, it's clicks of a button. And then on the filter up here, this is kind of a standard feature that's easily turned on within Titan. So you can filter the various columns. I can sort by invoice number or any of these columns. I can sort by paid status, and you can kind of see here where it says paid internal review. And this is doing a backward search. So customers use a variety. We've talked to them. They said they use a mix of it all. I have one customer in particular. He comes in every single day. He goes to the status. He clicks up top, and he wants to see what's been funded and what's his internal review.
So alternatively, I mean, you could also, you know, from my perspective, use pick lists here, you know, to do the filtering. There's a lot of different ways to do it. This isn't just one way, but this is the way that you found was good for your customers.
That's right. That's right. We could have made pick lists here and said, and they could have dropped, there could have been a drop down here that said either of the three. But yeah, I mean, the possibilities are somewhat endless.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat endless. The other
just looking at this, sure, Ben, go ahead.
No, the other beauty of this is that from here, from the table, you're able then to click in and view an invoice. So you can click on view invoice, and then again, this is redirecting, and you can see the details. The customer can see the details behind the invoice, and this is also super important because they can see what their fees are in real time. They can see invoice date, due date, and they can see at a snapshot a summary of their invoice.
So I also notice here that in the URL that you have here, it just says portal.uberbc.com. So you've actually completely, this is completely branded. You know, there's no, you don't, the users don't see that this is anything to do with Titan, and you've made really everything completely branded to your business. Was that difficult to do? Is that something that anybody could do that's using the platform, or does it require some sort of development?
No, it's very, very simple. I mean, it's literally, it's literally less than 3 minutes to do. So you're able to, there's several ways that you can brand it. You can either put it in, this may be a little technical, but you can put it into an iframe, or you can, there's actually in the Titan web product, there's actually a full DNS option where you can change the DNS to go to Titan, but from the customer perspective, it's fully branded based on our branding.
Just looking at this, I'm wondering, so I know you've built out a lot of different things with Titan. What I'm seeing right now seems, you know, really useful for the customers and for the end user. Do you ever find yourself using any of these interfaces internally?
It's funny you say that. So we are currently in process of using it for our partners, and partners being our partner banks, to where they don't have a license to log into our Salesforce, nor do we want them to have a license to log into our Salesforce. So all we want them to see is an internal view of what they have outstanding in our system and on our platform. So we have that. We're also working on an embedded table that will update multiple objects in our own Salesforce, which we're currently in process of building now. And that's all done through the package, the Titan package in Salesforce, where we're able to embed a Lightning Web Component into an object. So I'll give you an example. So we have a contact, and the contact may be associated with various different companies, and we're able with that Lightning Web Component to update the various accounts that they're related to within the Titan Web Component. However, In Salesforce, we can't do that. We would have to go to each individual account, update them, and come back, which is time consuming and very, very inefficient. But the Titan Lightning Web Component allows us to do that just in a table view with one click.
That's great, Ben. Thanks a lot for that. Yeah, so you said you also had some things inside of Salesforce, some document generation to show us today.
We do, and I'm gonna swap it up a little bit. I'm gonna first go through our payment flow, and then that will go towards the document generation. So for us, we have a very quite a complex flow, which doesn't look to be on surface. But if anyone who's familiar with flows, I mean, it just continues down the page and goes on and on and on. There's different conditions, different loops, different calls. But and this is a critical part to our daily processing of payments. So we have two ways we can process payments. And we've extended it a little further. So we use some RPA technology, robotic process automation, and that RPA goes out to our various bank partners, will capture the data of various bank accounts, and then we'll put it into our Salesforce environment. And in the morning, the people who process payments just come in here and they click existing payment, and it brings a screen that will generate a list of all the payments, and then they can allocate the payments to each invoice that's been paid off. We did that about 3 years ago, and that savings was significant. It was significant savings. But today I'll just kind of give you kind of a little demo of the payment. So on the payment here, if you click new payment, and you go and we want to have the customer, which is Tesla, and you put the payment as of today, and you put the payment amount of $500. And again, this is all test data. We select our payment option, which is, in this case, it's going to be debtor by electronic payment and ACH. We put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the reference. So this would be our ACH reference number. And in this case, it's not for an invoice that we funded. So it's for a customer that didn't have a funded invoice. So we check here non-purchase. So we did not purchase that invoice, but we want to give the money back to the customer. We don't have a remittance slip because it just shows up in the account. We click next. And then we can effectively at this point, depending on how many different facilities the customer has, we can select the bank. In this case, it's going to be the Test Uber Bank. But if they had 2 or 3 relationships, they could select from one of those banks. We click next, and it gives us a summary. Now, every time we click next, there is something happening in the background. So it's checking to make sure, for example, that the payment amount it equals the invoice amount, or it's checking. I think there's about 60 different checks that happen in the background, just to make sure that it's being allocated and routed appropriately.
Wow! And how many steps are there in the flow in total, approximately?
4 or 5 steps total in the flow, and at least 90 different actions, 60 of them running in the background.
Got it.
Yeah. So it's quite complex, but it's still very, very quick, right? So it gives us a summary here. It's for non-purchased, so it doesn't bring in the invoice number. It shows who the customer name is, who the bank partner is, if the account is active, It could be inactive or it could be in default. So if it's in default, it won't allow for funds to go back to the customer because they owe us money in default, which for our customers doesn't happen because we have good customers. And then we have remaining funds to be allocated, which is $500. Now, we make it purposefully as a second check. We make this $500 where you have to input it again. And then they go next. And it gives you a confirmation screen that there's nothing, no invoice outstanding, no payoff outstanding. And we click next and we're done. So your payment has been processed and it's done. You may start your next payment or you're done. And it brings you right back to the beginning of the screen to redo it again. Now, what happens on the flip side is imagine you have payment after payment after payment coming in. The old way of doing it is you would either export the payments and then copy and paste them into an Excel file and then PDF it. Or you would copy and paste into an Excel file off of a screen. Or in some legacy systems, they would have some reports, but the reports looked very outdated. They were not customized, right? So with the Titan DocGen product, we were simply able to come in, we put a button here that says Titan DocGen. The user can click on it and then select from one of the documents that they want to generate. In this case, since we've just put a payment in, we want to do a reconciliation statement. So we click on that document and it's popping up on my other screen, but you can kind of see it's
Ben, in the meantime, while it's loading, we have a question here from one of the attendees. Is there a third-party payment app connected to make this flow allowable, or are the payments being paid live directly in Salesforce?
They're being paid live in Salesforce. Yeah, good question though. So with the Titan extension, we can see here that there's no purchase receivables. And then we can see here that under the non-purchase that we just did, there is one payment for $500 and the release date was today.
So how far have you taken these reports? Have you, is it sometimes multiple pages? And also tell me a little bit about the responsiveness of these reports and the templates. Is it difficult to change based on the amount of data that comes in there? Is it changing on its own? How does that work?
Yeah, so basically what happens is that we have it set up to where it generates this document. And this document is, we can download it. We can set it up. We can download it in the Word or Excel. We can download it to PDF. We can send it via email directly to the client instead of even downloading it. But so on a typical basis, we'll have anywhere from 5 to 50 payments of purchase receivables. They'll kind of show up here. It's all automatic. It's all done through the mapping that we put in the document. And then we may have 5 or so non-purchase for the same client on that day, and they'll pop up here as well, and they'll go one at a time. We have at one point processed several hundred payments and per client, and the responsiveness was very simple, very easy. We didn't have to worry about formatting of pages. We didn't have to worry about any of that. All because in the background, Titan respects the formats of these documents.
So have you tried anything else? Have you done any bulk document generation? Have you done any document merging?
We have. So we've done a lot of document. We've done some document merging. But the other thing we've done is we've gone in and we've done agreements, like full legal agreements. And the legal agreements are typically, I think this one is like 27 pages long. It's like 27 pages long, and it's intuitive enough to where if we need a certain legal clause for a state, for example, so let's say we need a different legal clause for the state of California. It recognizes that the client is in California, so it conditionally takes out the Texas clause and puts the California clause. And for us, it's invaluable because we don't want, if we do that manually, then we're relying on human error to take out the clauses, or we're relying on 10 different, could be upwards of 50 different versions of this document, where here we have one version, and depending on the information that's being displayed in Salesforce, the Titan DocGen will automatically swap out those clauses.
Got it. Well, that sounds great, Ben. Yeah, this is really, really nice to see, and nice to see how you've implemented it for your business. Yeah, I guess at this point I can maybe show some stuff from my side, and then maybe we can have a little bit more of a discussion around this and discuss what some of the thoughts are for the future. So yeah, I just want to show something that we've built recently in Titan, and it's really just an interface to show a little bit of the functionality that you can use in the financial services industry. So this is a website built on Titan Web. What that means is that everything you're seeing was built without any coding whatsoever, drag and drop tools, even the design here. So the design here, let me just yeah, here it is. The design here is all done without any coding as well. There's no CSS involved even in this project, although you could have CSS in here, but you can really be able to capture the design that you want for your organization. As you can see, we have a header at the top here, and we have a footer down at the bottom. And we have all the options that you need to really make this exactly the way you want, in terms of that header can actually be a sticky header and can follow you down the page. Whatever you're looking to do, whatever that user experience you want to create is, all of that is really out of the box. So this is a pretty simple interface. What I want to show is two things. First off, let's say I want to open up a bank account. So I can go ahead here and I can register. Really plain, easy registration form, create a password. When I do this, this is going to create all of the appropriate records in Salesforce. And then of course we can, continue to work with those records moving forward. Now, let's say I want to go get a loan for my new house. All right. So I click on this and it says, okay, are you a customer yet? And again, this is up to you how you want to do this. In this instance, we did this. Okay, are you a customer? We could just ask them to put in their email right away, and then we can already check, hey, is this person the customer? So I'm going to say, yep, I am a customer. Continue. Now what happens is it just took me to a login page. Now, I think Ben can tell you this is a crucial part of the Titan platform. So this is something we have called Smart V, and Ben, obviously, I guess what we just saw also incorporated that as well.
That's correct. And actually, that's a very important part, not to interrupt, but on this part of the Smart V, so what we use is we use simply just an email, and then it sends the customer a 6-digit code that they input, so they don't have to worry about yet another password. And we don't have to worry from a security perspective if their password's been hijacked or it's someone else coming in. So it's an easier way for us to authenticate. We've also looked at authenticating it. There's also an option to authenticate it through a text message as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Ben, because personally, and I'm sure a lot of the people here would agree, the password thing is just, it's gotten out of control. And especially considering every application asks you to change your password every couple months, and they make you do that. So, at the end of the day, how safe can your passwords be? If you're changing them all the time, you got to write them somewhere on some piece of paper, or you're using some sort of, password manager, which is great. But we found that our customers and their users love two-factor authentication. So how that would look is you put in an email address, you click continue, and it would send you a code, one-time use code, and then we can go ahead and get in here. So what this is now is a really simple form, okay? And this form has a couple of components. It's got, the form and all the fields, and it also has a stepper. So we really like the stepper. We're really into it these days here at Titan, because what it does is it allows you to break up your form really easily. You can then put all of the different, headers for the different sections of your form in here. And the whole form actually loads in the background when you load this. So if I jump here, it's super fast, it's there, okay? But with that being said, I can preload data from Salesforce. So I've already filled out this application, as you can see, and I can preload some data here. And I can actually go ahead and I can change something here. And this is based on the logic that you set, right? And so what we did is when you click next, it's a Salesforce action. So we just pushed that update I did in my phone number already to Salesforce. So if we went and looked at Salesforce, that's already going to be changed in there. So we're already working even in Salesforce with the most up-to-date data. Now, you don't need to push everything on each page, right? You could push everything at the end. But with that being said, let's say your user gets stuck in the middle of the application. They filled out the first page. They didn't get through the second, third, fourth, fifth page. Well, if you're pushing the stuff to Salesforce in real time, then that means you can bring it back in real time. So they don't even have to worry about, oh, I didn't save this and that. We're working live with Salesforce. So you decide, okay, this is how I want the data to come. This is how I want it to go. And you can create that, as I said, customer experience that you want to create. The pick lists here can actually come straight from Salesforce. So the values you're seeing are coming from pick lists in an object that I already set up in Salesforce, which means that if I change a value on the pick list in Salesforce, it's going to change here dynamically as well. Conditional logic, really simple, right? I click yes, it's giving me a whole nother section. It's even filling in data that I brought here last time. If I click no, we could just keep going. And we could set any conditions we want. We can set value rules here. We can have specific fields for specific things. Like I believe this one, it's not, I'm right now clicking letters. It's not letting me put in letters. It's only going to let me put in numbers. And as you can see, it formats those numbers while I'm putting them in. So this is all stuff that we provide you. What we did here is we did like a credit assessment, which actually pushes everything to Salesforce. And you can see we get a little toast message there. Thanks for your confirmation. And now I can upload whatever I want to upload here, right? So I can upload a picture, I can drag things in, and we can collect different documents from users. We can also, by the way, go ahead and we can redisplay documents to users. So let's say your users already uploaded documents, they come back into this. Now you could actually allow them to review those documents in the future. Or let's say you have, one of these onboarding processes for your customers. And a lot of times when I speak to people in, especially in wealth management and things like that, so they have pretty complex onboarding processes for their customers. And it's not like, they're just filling out a form. They're filling out a form, they're uploading tons of tax documentation, they're uploading bank statements, and it's going to take, a lot of gathering of information to do that. So from our perspective, if you do that in a portal like this, where they can come in, they can see what they've done. You can even create a checklist for them, with the different things that they haven't done yet. You can assign them tasks. So that's another thing I've heard a lot from people in the industry is that, hey, we want to be able to assign our clients tasks because we meet with them in person. We tell them, hey, we want you to close this account. We want you to open this. We want you to update your information here. We want you to inform somebody of something else. And it all gets lost. So you can create a place for your customers where they can actually have a checklist and say, okay, I did this. This is the documentation, and it's a full, bi-directional integration with Salesforce. So that means that they've got open communication with you. The last thing here that we did is a loan option. So this dynamically came from Salesforce, and what this does now is I am now generating a document in real time from Salesforce, from Titan with all that data. So now I can go through and I can actually say, okay, rather than hoping that I filled out everything correctly on all the pages there, now I can come in here and say, okay, I'm going to review it. I'm going to do it in a really easy way. It's easy for me to see. Okay, everything here looks good. And, if it works for you, which we really like and I really like, is throwing a signature on here. So this signature doesn't need to be, a legally binding. Just get that signed here. This doesn't need to be like a legally binding digital signature, which we do provide, but it can also just be an electronic signature just to get someone's acknowledgement. I click submit here, and a few things are going to happen. One is right now, this is going to all get sent to Salesforce. That document's getting pushed to Salesforce in real time. I just got a little toast message here. Hey, your loan request has been submitted successfully. And now I'm going to jump to my email. I'm on the other screen here. And in my email, I should get an email here. Here it is. And this email can be branded however you want. This email is coming directly from the portal saying, hey, your request has been submitted. Here's the document. So now I get to see that document in real time, all 12 pages right there in front of me. And I've got it for my records. It's in Salesforce. Everyone's got visibility of the whole process. So I really, I think that's a great, thing to end on in terms of what we're showing today is really, you can create a full end-to-end process here. And, I know Ben's been over the years piecing it together, and I also, you told me some exciting news about, a little bit of what you're doing in the future. And also maybe tell us a little bit about what you've done with Titan beyond Uber.
Yeah. So we have in the coming weeks, we have a new product coming out, which is going to be for companies of all sizes and anywhere in the world. And effectively, it's a digital application for companies who either are looking to establish credit with another company, or companies that are running credit applications for prospective clients. So think of it like your digital application. It's going to be very, very neat. A lot of what you just showed which was Titan Web, that's the back end of our application. It's going to be extraordinary. So stay tuned for that. And maybe we'll do another little showcase of that, just to kind of see the complexity. We're going to also we're working as well, is allowing it to, we're looking to package it for clients so that they can then go in and use that package in their environment.
Oh, that's great. And it's exciting to hear that. And I know that, you've also, you told me a little bit about that you've even taken on some work helping some other organizations with Titan a little bit. How has that been for you? And what's the reaction been from those other organizations you've worked with?
Yeah. So basically what ended up happening is people would come to us, customers, partners, and they would say, how did you do this? And we would refer them to you guys at Titan. And they would then come back and say, you know what, you guys already have the learning curve here. Here's what we envision. So with that morphed another business, a Salesforce consulting arm. But one of our primary goals within that firm is purely Titan. So it's going out, creating Titan portals, helping people with DocGen, et cetera. And the response has been amazing, right? People need to get digital, like they have to go digital. So we have anywhere from a medical, a doctor office who says, you know what, we need to have our intake form electronic, so we don't have to have them sit in our waiting rooms for 35, 40 minutes. And then we have 25 people. That kind of started taking off during COVID. And now what they're finding is it's a much more efficient process as they come in and out. And all the way into, we have a cattle company, believe it or not. So the cattle company is tracking where their various animals are all throughout the country, but they're using a Titan portal for each of their people. So they have vaccinations being entered by the vet. They have the person who's transporting the certain animals that's updating locations, but they don't need access, and nor can they have access to Salesforce. They would get lost, but they can log in, and it's customizable per their role to where they can log in and do that. It's neat stuff. I mean, the sky's the limit, but I think what people don't realize is it extends Salesforce even further than what they currently have.
Thanks, Ben. Just a couple of questions I see here. So one is, do I need to have any particular version of Salesforce in order to use Titan? The answer to that is no, you need an enterprise version of Salesforce, or at least something that has the open APIs. So, because basically the way that we're working with your Salesforce environment is via REST API, which means that you need to have those open API connections, because again, we're not storing any of the data, that you're working with. So it's just going back and forth in real time there. Another question here. Yeah, in terms of objects, is there a limit to the amount of objects that we're using in these forms? No. So there's not, and also not in the documents. So one of the really neat things that I've seen is just the amount of, in Salesforce, obviously, people have very complex relationships built out between, parent, child, grandchild, and it just keeps going on and on. And a lot of times people have a hard time recreating these relationships in the documents they're using, in the forms. There's no issue with that. So as long as the relationship there exists, you're good to go. Yeah, so thanks a lot, Ben. Really was a pleasure joining you today, and thanks so much for showing everything here. And yeah, we're excited to see. We'll do maybe a big release together of your next big adventure here. So I really appreciate it, and thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, and please, if you're interested in learning more about Titan, if you would like to see a demo, if you'd like to ask any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, benm@formtitan.com. Or you can also, I know Ben's also happy to speak to anyone who would like. And yeah, check us out on the App Exchange, check out our website, and follow us on LinkedIn so that you can stay up to date with all the latest things going on here.
Fantastic, Ben. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Ben.